The Phillies lose in probably the worst case scenario this whole season. They blow a 3-0 lead and fall to the Miami Marlins by a score of 7-4. Welcome to the Phillies Fan Podcast here on Big Fan Sports, episode 9. I am your host, Jaden Harper. This is a tough one for the Phillies. Obviously, they do lose tonight 7-4. They had a 3-0 lead, and they had the bases loaded at one point in the second inning, and they did not score a single run. It's a tough loss all the way around, but it's tough for the most part when we start talking about what happened during the game. So at first, we have the injury to Kyle Schwarber. He hurt his left groin tightness on a ball that a routine play that should have been played by Mundo Sosa. So he left the game early. He did not take his at bat in the ninth inning. He left the game. He was playing left field tonight, his third time in the outfield this whole season. So he left the game early. And the most concerning thing, obviously, is no offense to Kyle Schwarber. He's a big part of the team. But the National League leading vote getter, he's going to the All-Star game. Bryce Harper hurt his hamstring on the last play of the game. And it did not look good. He came up limping after hitting first base. It was a weak ground ball to the second base hole. Second baseman made the play over to first. Harper almost made it in time. It was a bang play, but he came up holding his left hamstring. You never want to see something like that, especially on the last play of the game, in a game where the Phillies did lose in a fashion they did lose. We'll get to that in a second. But Harper has been your best player all season long. He extended his 12-game hitting streak tonight. He had a double, almost hit a home run, almost hit 2 home runs. Both of them were almost home runs against Trevor Rogers. But you never want to see that for any player, especially when it's your best player and probably the best player in all of baseball, if not the hottest player in all of baseball, Bryce Harper. So the Phillies, it's a tough loss. It's one of those losses that you have during the year where everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for the Phillies tonight, and there's no way around that. There was one piece of good news for the Phillies before we get to the rest of the bad news. Trey Turner had an incredible night at the plate. 2 doubles. He got on base in almost every single plate appearance besides his final one. He was probably the only Philly who really stepped up to the plate tonight. Had 2 doubles, scored 3 runs out of the 4 Phillies runs, scored 3 runs. And the Phillies, he really was the only one who was able to get into scoring position for the middle of the lineup. Obviously, Schwarber did not have his best game. But it's not like Turner had a perfect game either. He struck out with the bases loaded in the second inning. He was the one who came up, but he it wasn't a strikeout. He grounded out, actually. He grounded out, and that's, it's a tough one. Obviously, you take away from his great game, but it's a tough one when he does something like that. Now we get to the worst part of tonight's game, and that is the bullpen. The bullpen. The Phillies have the best bullpen in baseball, and that's not debatable. At this point, it's not debatable. When you look at the names and the arms up and down, you look at the ERAs up and down. But tonight was an anomaly. It was their worst night of the season, and I don't think that's being exaggerated. They gave up 5 runs. You include the 2 that inherited that score, they gave up 7 runs. Matt Straub gave up 4 of those 7. Hoffman gave up 2, and Marte gave up a run as well. And that is just tough. In a game where the Phillies had a 3-0 lead, and you give it to your bullpen with 2 runners on, and you end up losing that game. And it's not all the bullpen's fault. You look at the whole plate umpire; he was absolutely abysmal tonight. Evil Jimenez, he was absolutely terrible. There was a pitch that should have been called strike 3, which would have ended Wheeler's night and got the Phillies out of the 7th inning, but it was called ball 4. And then the Marlins went on to score all those runs. So for the Phillies, it's tough when you lose a game like that, but it's not the end of the world unless Harper and Schwarber are out for an extended period of time. There won't be any updates until tomorrow morning, so I will discuss it on tomorrow's game preview. Phillies and the Marlins, game 2 of the 4-game series. Game 82 of the Phillies season. Christopher Sanchez will be on the mound for the Phils. So hopefully the Phillies can bounce back and take game 2 of the series. Make sure to tune in for game preview tomorrow. And also I will be live twice on Sunday. First for the Phillies and the Marlins at 1:35, and then I'll be live for the Rangers and the Orioles. That's at 7:10, so make sure to check both of those out. Thank you for watching episode 9 of the Phillies Fan Podcast here on Big Fan Sports, and I'll see you next time.